Hi everyone, I'm your instructor Brenda Gustin, and I just reviewed exam number 1. And overall the average was around 70%, and that's okay. It's not, I like to have it a little bit higher than that, but it's okay. I think that's a pretty good start for an exam number 1 in an online class. So the grades are in Brightspace. You can see what your grade average is, and I would just like to give you some pointers on getting the exam grades up a little bit, not just to get the exam grades up, but just to have a little bit better comprehension of the information that's really critical and might be useful to you in the future. So when I look through the exam, I can get statistics on it, and I don't see like very many questions that lots of people missed. And so what that tells me, like the missed questions were kind of spread out all over the place. So that tells me that there weren't certain topics that were particularly difficult. It was more kind of general, maybe you didn't study a certain section enough, or, just different individuals had problems with different areas. One thing I did notice is sometimes with the short answers or the fill in the blank ones, that sometimes people had a little bit harder time with those because you had to recall things. And so remember, this is a class where I want you to remember some of this because it is going to be relevant in future classes. And the other thing, so number 1 is just kind of general overall studying. I highly recommend when you study that you use those lecture study guides, and I'll pull one out right here. And what you want to be doing is going through those learning outcomes. And it says describe 3 major shapes of bacteria. You should be able to, try to do that. All these vocabulary, you should be able to say what they are. There was a question on there about Staphylococcus, and maybe a quarter of the class missed it. And it really is, we've done that in lecture and lab. And if you went down this list to distinguish between Diplococcus, Tetrad, Streptococcus, and Staphylococcus, it's not a hard concept. It's really more of just studying enough. So if you're looking through and seeing what you missed, and remember that you can see the answers, the things that you missed the day after the due date, and look at the things that you missed and see, are they on this lecture study guide? And I think you find they will be, because I really use this to write the tests. And so that tells me if you don't have clear enough answers, or your answers, your information isn't clear enough on here. If you haven't been using the lecture videos, you might want to go back and do that. Or you might want to start doing that. The other thing is just practice, go through these lists and recite them over and over again. So either, you don't take notes. If you had a problem and you want to do better, your notes aren't good enough. So that's one thing to assess. The other one is that you didn't study this enough. And that's usually what it is. Like you just didn't get time, or you didn't take the time to go through it. The other one I try to say, when people study, try to study by saying things out loud. There was a question on there about germ theory of disease, and a lot of people didn't know what that was, and it is on the study guide, but some people had like no idea what it was. So don't ignore things that are on here and then say them out loud. If it doesn't sound right to you, go look it up again. I mean, you can search for these in your textbook, you can search for these in the lecture videos, or go on Google and find it. A lot of the concepts in lecture are supported by things in lab. So again, make sure and be honest with yourself that you understand it before you move forward. On top of that, if you're not sure if any of your your answers are right in your lecture study guide, contact me. I'm glad to talk about it. If you say, I'm not really sure I have this right in here, can we talk about it? I'm more than glad to do that. So I think a lot of it is just studying. It's really hard with the online class to know what to expect and to force yourself to study all this stuff that now you've taken all these open book things, and now you've got to do it without an open book. So just step it up one step, and I think most people do. After the first test, they go, oh, this is really serious. We got to know this stuff. So talk to me individually if you want. I'd be glad to talk to you about how you're doing. Meanwhile, take care.